Hello, friends and fellow listeners and Substackers. Welcome to another podcast, Nourishing Reality with Salema. This week, I'm going to talk about praying and the crossover between manifestation and prayer. So, if you're into either of those two topics, or maybe you're just into manifestation and haven't thought about the crossover to prayer, then this will be for you. Why not pray and see what happens? The crossover between manifestation and prayer. These past few months, I've found myself leaning back into a practice that I first encountered as a child, like many, and which I've had an on-off relationship with since. And that is the practice of prayer. Even though I've not been as consistent as I wished, and I do try, but when I do pray, I feel it in my very soul, receiving nourishment of a different kind. Nourishment from comfort, connection, and somehow a safe reassurance. A private conversation between me and a greater energy. The conversation becomes a reminder and a prompt for me to get real and recognize that I can't do or control everything, something that us humans like to think we can. And I'll give you an example towards the end of this podcast, of what I mean. I'm writing this post for you from the pockets of quiet time in between my preparation to go on a long-awaited retreat in Costa Rica with my mentor Elena Brower. Something I had wished, envisioned and prayed for such a long time, always believing that if it was meant to be, then circumstances would align. Releasing the ask, sending the intention, and then surrendering it up to the ether. Eventually, a greater energy aligned and responded. So, in a couple of weeks, I'll be there, God willing. I say that as I never take anything for granted, not like I used to when I was younger. And maybe that's an element of getting older, that we are able to cultivate a different type of respect and perspective on life. So, I'm still praying that we are blessed with ease and good health to get us there safe and sound. Coming from a mixed background, my mother from the Church of England and my father a Muslim, I remember being given both the Bible and the Quran at quite an early age to read, but with no obligations expected. My folks were good like that. Weirdly enough, whilst at school, one of my top subjects and qualifications was on religious education. Never in a million years, and all these years later, did I think I would be writing on the topic of prayer. As I've gone through my life, my spirituality has gained insights from various teachings and schools of thought, heavily influenced by my yoga training, a mix of spiritual philosophies that, as to date, have served me well and helped me through some of my darkest times. Echoing my belief that one school of thought or teachings does not fit all. Whatever religious or spiritual teachings and beliefs you feel drawn to, prayer can be a powerful tool for healing and transformation. Recently, I found myself increasingly leaning in towards writings and practices that hold the space for this line of inquiry, observing, learning, and adding insights to my spiritual and mental toolbox as I go along my path. Something else that I've been doing over the past 2 decades has been visiting churches from all religions as well as temples. This has had a greater significance and profound effect on my emotions, offering a sense of peace and acceptance, in return acknowledging, honouring and giving gratitude to all those who have gone before me, my ancestors and loved ones, and for the life I'm blessed to be living. Prayer can offer true evolution. Stay open, stay close to yourself, and as a result, what do you see more clearly? Inspirations have been abound for this post, from the influences of Andu, a Buddhist monk writing on here on Substack, Elena Brower, and also Chloe George, to Coldplay's latest album, We Pray, and the work of Dr. James R. Doty, Mind Magic. My Magic is a new release, a gem of a book. You have to check it out, which unravels the mysteries around manifestation, helping us understand how our brains work, our chemical reaction to these types of practices that include gratitude, belief, and visualization, as well as our emotions. Prayer seems to be everywhere I look recently. If you are listening to this and not on the Substack post, please head over. There's some great pictures on the post for you to have a look at. But of course, there are other essential ingredients in prayer, including faith, hope, belief, and trust. However, the best thing of all is that praying costs absolutely nothing. Just a few moments of your time each day to sit with yourself however you wish in a practice that can help you feel better, and in some cases, listen to. The crossover between manifestation and prayer. It's not a secret, I've always been a big fan of manifestation and have used the practice greatly over the years. Practices and readings from Gabby Bernstein's work, as well as the work of Abraham Hicks. But did you ever consider that Jesus was also an advocate for manifestation? Never losing his faith, he spoke about how prayer and manifestation work together. On one occasion, saying, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Prayer is not simply about the words we say, it's about what we are thinking on the inside at our deepest core level. Another not so easy element of this practice is, of course, practicing acceptance. And I'm laughing because I'm sharing with you an instance from a personal experience that I've literally just had prior to recording this. Acceptance of what unfolds and realizing that things don't always turn out quite the way that you have that you had envisaged, but to go with it nonetheless, where a type of detachment is needed. Case in point, I just came back from the dentist where I thought I had part of a filling come out of one of my teeth, one of my bottom teeth. And it turns out that I have a decaying tooth where there is a hole in the side of my tooth and the infection is penetrated through the side of my tooth towards the nerve of my tooth. Great, you might say. Nothing abnormal about that. Lots of people have that. But in a week and a half's time, I'll be flying to Costa Rica, and a root canal, not a good idea for a major trip. So I was quite shocked when the dentist told me that. Well, it's not too bad. However, we do need to do something with that tooth. I found myself, while I was listening to the words coming out of his mouth, I felt myself go into slight victim mode. Like, I don't believe this is happening. Why is this happening now? So close to this big trip that we have planned. And then when I settled down and got home and had a cup of tea and thought about it, maybe that happened for a reason, because if I hadn't had the pain quite so bad and I hadn't gone to the dentist, I might have then been in Costa Rica with raging toothache and an infection that would be very difficult to treat while traveling. So I'm going with it. I've made an appointment to have my tooth extracted on my birthday, which is Monday the 25th of November, 2 days before I travel. So I just threw that little insight and experience in there. It seems weird that I was writing this post before I had to head out to the dentist. Then the outcome happened, and now I'm being tested to put my words into action. That being said, fundamentally, it is worth also remembering that the basic foundation of prayer and the function really is about the willingness to connect and surrender with a higher energy in a very personal way. And weirdly, before I went to the dentist, I did a small prayer and asked for my tooth to be taken care of. And I hoped that it wasn't anything too serious. Well, having a tooth out hopefully isn't that serious. Root canal is a bit of a different story. But I had to surrender in that moment. So ask and it will be given to you. Maybe not quite the way that you want it to, but nevertheless, it will be served to you. I wanted to include a small section on some tips for praying, taken from my own personal experience. And there's a few here. So if you're new to prayer or you're returning back to a practice, this might serve you. Keep open and aware. Next time that you're out and about, check out a nearby church or temple and listen. See what wants to connect with you. Remember that you can pray anywhere, anytime, silently or non-silently. Be aware that sometimes the answers will come back as a feeling or that nagging feeling to take action. Try to keep your practice as regular as you can, but don't beat yourself up about it too much. And don't overthink anything. Keep it simple. So another example here is being aware that sometimes the answers will come back as a feeling or that nagging feeling to take action. Another example, as I said, about a week and a half ago, quite early in the morning, I had this feeling that these words were coming into my mind for a poem and a post that I subsequently released on Substack. I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago now. And basically, I was like, no, I can't get up. No, I'm nice and warm in my bed. It's like 6 a.m. I just want to stay in bed. Oh, I remember it. I'm sure I can remember what the words that are going round and round. And it was like, no, you have to get up. You have to get your phone. You have to put it on notes. You have to, or record it as a voice memo, or get a notepad and a pen and write it down. But you need to do it. And it was so strong that every time I just tried to ignore it, it was like someone was prodding me, poking me. You need to write this down. And this is what I'm talking about as a feeling, or that nagging feeling, to take action. So you might have had experiences like that. And then also I have done the after prayer check-in. What has become clearer and how are you feeling? Those are the two questions that I normally ask myself after I've sat with myself for a few minutes. If you want to get a little bit more inspiration, you could try, there are quite a few praying projects around, and if you feel drawn to trying praying, and you want to monitor your understanding and progress, you can join a 40-day prayer guide at catchingthewave.com. I've done the link in the Substack post, so you can check that out. The other thing I would say is one modern day prayer reading and inspiration series that you should definitely check out is from Pixie Light Horse. I've linked to her website as well. So try praying for a week and see what happens. It might just surprise you. Let's make the world less lonelier, and let's make it a kinder place. For further information and honest discussion, you can also go to Try Praying. The link is in the Substack piece as well. So if you know of anyone who may benefit from this post and podcast, please, please, please feel free to share from here. If you have any comments, I'll be interested to hear that, and also to hear your progress. So that's it for this week. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen and read and share and comment, and I will see you next time.